Welcome to Legal Tender, 30 minutes of intensely satisfying entertainment and enlightenment. Legal Tender begins now.
Good morning, welcome to Legal Tender, and this is the mobile home version of Legal Tender. You didn't think you were going to hear that on a Wednesday morning, did you?
You know, you may not know this, Cody, but those of you listening certainly don't know this. Yes. But I have quite an experience in mobile home litigation.
What?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
There actually was a case. So we're going to talk about mobile homes. We're going to talk about mobile home lending, right? Mortgage lending, real estate contracts. So listen up, right? Am I right?
Right.
So let's talk about this just real quick for this case that I had. It was in River City, Washington.
Where is River City?
It's over by Kelso area.
Okay.
So what was happening was there was a mobile home park that wanted to foreclose and kick out all the residents. Well, the problem with, if you own a mobile home, you know that it costs like $10,000 to move your mobile home. It's not cheap. It's very expensive. It's a huge pain. And so...
Hey.
Yes?
My house showed up on wheels. I know a lot about this. So
yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
I grew up in a house on wheels. There you go, And so what happened was the person wanted they wanted to kick everybody out, and they said, "Hey, see you later. We're going to, you got to move in a month." Mm-hmm. Well, these guys came, and this is bizarre, but at the time, I'm a downtown Seattle law firm, all marble, gold, fish tanks, all that sort of stuff. And
fish tanks?
Yeah, these people came in and no, fish tanks, right? We're drinking Perrier, and so there was another lawyer that said, that had said, "Alex, I will politically cover for you at the firm if you just go and take this case." So I was like, okay. So I went down and fought a basically showed that they were violating all these laws. They were kicking out these homeless. They were going to make the people homeless, and they were all retirees. They had no money. The press showed up, but more importantly, all of the mobile home tenants showed up, and they had signs. They were cheering me in court. Every time I said something, they would stand up and they would shake their banners. The judge would be like, "Sit down. What is going on here? This is just an eviction proceeding." I'm like, "No, Your Honor, this is a fight for America, and America will continue." I had I had my politician voice on there.
I didn't know that you got your start defending people who lived in mobile home parks. That's amazing.
There you go. So we successfully shut down the guys from trying to shut the park out, evict them, and they actually wrote us a substantial check.
Oh, good for them.
To pay for the problems.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
So tell us today, what did you come across in mobile home recently?
Well, this is a series of articles that was in the Seattle Times. An investigative reporter from the Seattle Times wrote an article about Clayton Homes. So if you don't know Clayton Homes, they make manufactured homes. They're owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which happens to be run by...
So right, this is actually a giant corporation, Clayton Homes. It's not a guy, Clayton Homes. It's not...
No. Well, the guy, Clayton, he sold the operation to Berkshire Hathaway, which is run by Warren Buffett. He's one of the top 3 richest people in the world.
Right.
This is why this story got so much play. And there wasn't just one article written about it.
So what's the story?
The story is that the investigative reporter dug up all this information about a couple of specific examples. One of them was in Ephrata. Another one, I think, was in Arizona, about predatory lending practices. That Clayton Homes, there is a culture of predatory lending where they lend money to people who obviously cannot repay them.
So... Actually, let me put a little defense of predatory lending here. So I gave my son a lesson in predatory lending, right? So my son...
I love this. And by the way... Speaking of his son, Harris, if you guys haven't been to our website, ltmedia.tv, or our Facebook page, you need to go there because last week we filmed an episode with my son, Xavier, and Alex's son, Harris, about could they defend themselves in immigration court, which a judge in Seattle said that they were perfectly capable of doing. It's hilarious, and it's obvious that they cannot.
Right. So you can actually watch this whole thing, and you can watch it on our website here. But what's funny is the client, the mother who was involved in that case, actually watched our show.
What?
She contacted me last night.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when we were trying to say, look, it's kind of ridiculous to ask a 3-year-old or even any person to appear in court without a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So, let's kind of, move the needle a little other way. So watch the show. You're going to laugh hysterically. So the predatory learning practice I was talking to my son about was like, okay, well, I was going to buy him a pair of jammies, but he needed to work it off. Well, he's going to need to work it off for 30 days. Pretty fair. And he's like, but you just gave him to, to Eileen, the sister, I'm like, no, well, welcome to it. Welcome to it. So is this not fair? Is this not what's going on?
No, this is actually, so they did one article. The first article they wrote was just, they're predatory lenders. And what their whole thing is they want to lend money to people who can't afford to pay them back. They want to repossess the homes. They're going to mark up the price of the home again and then resell it. So it's basically this profit circle that they're running through. And it's this whole scam about people who can't get money to pay their mortgage. So, but Warren Buffett actually came out and said, wait.
Right.
This actually is not true. So I thought it would be really interesting to talk about what happens when you go to the bank and get a mortgage. What happens? Does the bank really care if you repay, or do they not care? And how is what Warren Buffett doing different in that regard?
So in other words, so the argument is hey, people were going in to buy a home with the intention they wanted to keep the home, but the lender was intending that they fail so they could get it back, mark it up, and resell it.
Yep.
And anyone who's ever dealt with resold mobile homes knows that's a completely horrible business plan.
Yeah, and we're going to get into actually how much money it cost them just last year to repossess homes. Because it was an amazing amount of money. And it's not profitable.
No.
It is not profitable to go to these places, take the home off the foundation, and then resell it. It's not profitable.
And that's the difference between a mobile home and a regular stick-built home, is that if you're going to resell, there's lots of licenses that go with reselling a mobile home versus stick-built home. But if you're going to move, it's not like you just move it. It costs a ton of money to do that. And so as you found out, you looked in this, what'd you find out about Buffett's deal? But this alleged, as much as I wanted to see him thrown under the bus, what'd you find out?
I know, because, everyone was, he's just this really folksy, really nice guy. Everyone loves Warren Buffett, so it'd be really nice just to nail him on this.
Man, thank goodness.
But not so much. So let's talk about what actually happens when you go to the bank, and let's just say you wanted to go buy a home in Brewster here.
Okay.
You go, you get a home, you're like, I want to buy this home. So you got to go, let's say you go over to Wells Fargo in Brewster, and you need to get a mortgage.
Yep.
Well, they're going to probably require you, unless you qualify for some special circumstances, they're going to require you to pay 20% down on that home.
Yep.
Why do they require that? Well, when they get the mortgage over there and the mortgage closes, they're not keeping it. They're going to sell it to a company called Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. You guys have probably heard about them from the financial crisis. What do? They buy the mortgage from the bank, they package a bunch of them up together, and then they sell them to investors.
So those of you who have ever gone through or received a foreclosure notice know that it is who is the heck is EC Servicing out of Florida? Because they are the company that is hired by the company that was hired by the other company that bought the subsidiary that ultimately purchased the loan. Yes. And so you're trying to deal with your original bank. You're going back to Wells Fargo, Brewster, going, well, hey, how do I pay for this? Like, we don't own that loan.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it still shows up on our accounts, but we don't actually own the loan. Like, what?
Yeah. So if anyone's ever wondered why Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac went bankrupt during the financial crisis, this is why. Because when they buy those mortgages from the bank, the government guarantees the timely payment of interest and principal on all those mortgages.
Could you imagine guaranteeing the payment of your spouse for anything?
She's sitting right here. Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not.
But can you imagine? My grandmother said that she would never co-sign a loan for any of her children, and yet the government will guarantee all of these yahoos for everything at all times. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I wonder why we had a meltdown.
Let me ask you this: do you know how Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac get money to buy the loans?
Selling popsicles.
That would be a better idea.
Yeah, it would be.
No, they just issue debt.
They just issue debt.
They issue debt to buy. What could go wrong?
Here's an IOU.
What could go wrong? And all of a sudden, they're on the hook for so much money, the government had to take them over during the financial crisis.
To take over what they were taking over for the government. Nice.
Yes. So the banks, for the vast majority of the loans made in this country on mortgages, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buy them and they package them up and sell them to investors. Okay,
so people here who are thinking, okay, I want to get a loan, I want to go buy, and they have to go the traditional route here you talked about the traditional bank.
Correct.
What are some other alternatives? And what was Warren Buffett doing?
So Warren Buffett, they own Clayton Homes, who they make the manufactured homes, but they also finance them. So you can go buy a Clayton home and you can get financing instead of going to a bank. You can have Clayton Homes finance your home. And instead of Clayton Homes packaging up all the mortgages they make and selling them off to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they don't. They keep every single one of those mortgages, all of them, on their books.
So what that means is they want to make sure if you go buy a home that you're qualified to pay and you're gonna service that loan.
Yeah, so
it's like a credit union. We like local banks here, NCNB and Grand Coulee Credit Union here. They want to make sure that if they're going to give a loan, that you're going to pay it.
Right.
As opposed to packaging and selling it.
Yeah, and a lot of these people who Berkshire Hathaway is making loans to, their credit scores aren't what we would call pristine. So they would have a very difficult time going the traditional route, and the banks would have a hard time loaning to them because they wouldn't qualify to have their mortgages sold to Fannie Mae.
For example, so I had my identity stolen. And so for the longest time,
amazing story.
For the longest time, I'd get calls from the IRS every year or so, and they'd say, "Hey, you owe us $65 or $85 or $40 or $20,000 in back taxes." And this is like when I was going to law school, and I'd say, "No, actually, I haven't been working. I've been working, but it's all been under the table. But I didn't tell them that, but I said, well, actually, I haven't been working. I'm going to school. I have an exemption." They said, "Well, you got to pay." I said, "Well, tell me, where was I working?" My favorite was when I was working at Al's AAA Siding in Florida. That was pretty good.
AAA Siding.
AAA Siding.
It was really nice.
I apparently spent a long time as some sort of backorder cook at Chipotle Grill.
Now,
in
wait a
Kansas
minute.
City.
Didn't somebody buy some really nice jewelry on your credit? I thought there's like a jewelry store in Arizona or something.
Yes. Actually, it was there was an Indian school where there was some Native American art that they bought, and it was anyway. So for the longest time, I would consistently have someone using my Social Security number going all around. I couldn't get loans; it was a huge hassle. And so for me, I would have had to use the Warren Buffett way, which would have been to use a company like Clayton Homes that said, "Oh, well, we understand the problem," instead of just straight looking at numbers.
Yeah, and so there's one side effect of having a bad credit rating and wanting to get a mortgage. You're going to pay a higher interest rate because obviously they're extending themselves to you and they want to make sure they're going to get a fair return on taking the risk, right? Right. And so this guy from the Seattle Times said they're actually predatory lenders because he had all these metrics that he looked through of all of their loans and all the disclosures that they made. And Buffett came out and said, whoa, wait. We do not want to foreclose on these homes because, number one, as you just talked about, it's immensely expensive to go and pull that home off the foundation, take it back to the lot, overhaul it, and then resell it. That's amazingly expensive. Last year, Clayton Homes repossessed 8,400 homes. It cost them $157 million to do that.
Right. So in other words, the article, this guy's claim is just there's simply no basis in fact for that because they would lose a huge if the business was just to flip mobile homes, they're just going to lose cash. So let's make this a little more. A lot of people around here, if they want to buy homes, they use what you've heard of as real estate contracts. People come into my office all the time saying, "Hey, how much can you prepare the contract to buy or sell?" Right? Say, well, who's going to carry the mortgage? Who's going to carry the note? Who's going to carry the loan? And so those are things that it depends on how you're going to structure the deal about how do you get the property back. So with a mortgage, when we think of a regular mortgage, we don't do mortgages in Washington State, but with these loans that we think about, those are a completely different way to fund and to foreclose than with the real estate contract to fund and foreclose. So if you're thinking about a home or you're thinking about where you're going to do, where you're going to get your 20% from, think about what is the legal means by which I'm going to actually acquire title to that piece of property. So don't just think, here's a piece of property I want to get. Think about how do I want to, if I'm going to get title, how do I make sure I get it? Oh, and for goodness sake, if you're going to buy a piece of property from your friend or whatever, would you please order a title report? Please, for goodness sake, stop buying property and just saying, "Oh, great," because you're buying it and then you realize the guy you bought it from has all of this debt on it or all these liens on it.
Hey, and don't get us wrong. We think it's hilarious when you got to come to Alex's office
hilarious.
and pay him thousands of dollars to have him straight
Thousands.
up. We think it's hilarious. Ching, spinny rims for everybody, but just order the title report and take care of it.
It's just complete forehead slapping stuff. Like, oh my gosh, it's not that hard. We have insurance for a reason. So, so if you're excited about your home, that's fantastic. You're putting your lender together, that's great. Put your contract documents together, but also don't forget your insurance. Right? You just bought your new car. Don't you think you need insurance before you drive it? Maybe.
When you go to sell it and they go, "Well, you actually don't have title on the property." What do you mean? I've been making payments on it for years.
Yeah.
Well, we're sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, I got a case just like that.
Did you have title insurance? Well, no.
No, right. So I didn't even know I've even had it. The guy just told me he had it, so he sold it to me.
Yeah.
So don't be that guy or gal.
Yeah. Amber and I are virtual experts on mobile home lending. We're virtual experts. You don't want to know why?
Why?
Because we own one.
Okay.
We own one. Our house showed up on wheels. It was an amazing process. By the way, if you want to buy a manufactured home and you live in the Okanagan or Chelan valleys, go talk to Brian and Chuck Smith in Okanagan at S&H Homes. That's where we bought ours. They're amazing.
And we're not getting paid.
We're not even actually getting paid. I need
to get paid for this pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's going to get a bribe, it should be me because I'm clearly getting nothing from this.
Not a thing.
Right.
So And here, this was the amazing part. I didn't know this when we started the process. I thought that if you wanted to get a mortgage on a manufactured home, it was just like buying a regular home. Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, it's not. So we started our mortgage process through Sterling Savings. I get a phone call halfway through the process. The guy who we're working with, he's part of a team of the manufactured lending things at Sterling Savings. Sterling Savings, big bank, right?
Right.
Really big bank.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm actually leaving Sterling Bank, and I'm going to this other small bank, and I want to bring your mortgage over with me. I remember thinking, am I being scammed? Am I being scammed?
You're like, wait a minute, I can do it, but I need to be bribed.
And
Because
he
I know
goes,
you're going to get a commission.
No, I mean, it was this really, really awkward conversation. So then the guy leaves. And I remember I called Sterling Savings Bank. I thought, come on. Surely they can take care of this. They're a huge bank. They have someone else. Oh, no, they did not. I go, are you guys going to be able to process my mortgage? And they go, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. They didn't know how to do.
Financing is such a specialty.
It was such a specialty, and they had one guy who specialized in it, and he left, and it was all up in the air. So we had to go with this guy to the bank.
You know, the lesson here is that you need to pay. The lesson here is that if you're Sterling Bank, you messed up. You need to pay the one person who actually knows what they're doing, so that way they don't leave. And when they're getting ready to leave, you say, "Here's a bucket full of gold coins. Stay some more."
And it wasn't like, so it wasn't like he just left. He took his whole team, the whole team of people who this is all they did.
Good.
They just walked out.
Good for that. Well, you know, when I was working at this firm in Seattle, every month, Cody knows this, every month I'd walk around with an updated letter of resignation in my pocket. Every single month, I would sign and date a new letter of resignation. And I would keep it in my vest pocket because I didn't want to feel that like I was a slave to the system. I didn't want to feel like I had, like I was sold out. I want to feel like I was footloose and free. The second I got married, I decided, well, maybe I can update it every couple months. The second I had kids, I quietly put that back in the safe. Gotta wait till a good time,
Yeah. Do you watch the show Suits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't. But Amber does.
Yes.
So she'll go, oh my gosh, you have to come over here and watch this scene. Well, Amber, what's the guy's name on Suits? Lewis.
Lewis Litt, yes.
Lewis is a crazy man. And so he goes in, he finds out that this new client fires the firm. So he walks into the associate office and goes, "You're fired." They all stand up as he walks in, And he goes, "You're fired." And the guy looks at him and goes, "You can't fire Tom." He goes, "I'm not firing Tom. I'm firing you. So you can't even get your firing right." And when I saw that, I was like, I wonder if that was like the old firm Alex worked at. I wonder if that was kind of the culture that was there.
That was pretty much the culture. Pretty much was. So taking it, spiraling it back down here, to our mobile homes here and your lending. So if you're thinking about, where, are you wanting to buy a mobile home? Are you wanting to buy a new manufactured home or a used home, or you want to sell one? There are a lot of specific pieces that go into it, right? There's lots of things that can be good and bad, and make sure that the type of contract you choose. Is it a real estate contract? Is it a straight, a sales contract? Make sure you get title insurance. What else would you want to, actually, let's talk just for one second. You are a real person, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you're not Geppetto's wooden boy. You actually. So you met. We had an interesting conversation where you're talking with somebody. Said, "Oh, you're Cody from Cody the show. Cody's Gun."
Yeah.
Right.
Cody's Gun.
Cody's Gun. So I'm calling you from now on. You're Cody's Gun, and so. People can actually hire you.
Yes, they can.
So
I'm actually not an attorney.
Right.
People are confused about this.
Right. Even though you sound like a jerk, you're not one. Right.
Right.
So
completely true.
Right. Because you don't have a bar number here. But so if people want, this is what I constantly do to people. They come in, they have trust issues. That sounds. I don't mean they have trust in estates.
Taken multiple ways.
RCW 11.96A issues is what I mean. Not trust emotional issues. If they have trust in estates, matters that need to be attended to, I will say, hey, let Cody run their performance. Let him see how your investments are performing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a shout out plug because again, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that people are not recognizing that you're Cody's gun.
Yeah.
You're Cody's gun.
Yeah. No, it was funny because I had a conversation with a guy last week, and I introduced myself, and I said, he goes, well, what do you do? And I said, I own Gun Capital Management. And he goes, I've never heard of that.
it.
And I go, well, have you ever heard of the Legal Tender Show on Cozy? He goes, I listen to that every week. And I go, well, I'm Cody on that show. And he goes, no kidding.
He should have said, wow, you're a lot shorter than you sound on the radio.
Well, you're kind of skinny.
Oh yeah. So I mean, and that's the thing that why we originally started doing the show was because we wanted to have fun, right?
Right.
We wanted to kind of just do our own deal, regardless of what happens. But we also wanted to provide a service to people and let people know that, hey, we want to help you with your legacy. How do you do that?
See, this is how I thought about this specific article in relation to what I do in relation to what Warren Buffett does.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk to my clients about their retirement, building their retirement, we talk about, like the saying at Gun Capital is opportunity, prosperity, legacy. I want to identify opportunities to grow your wealth so you can prosper during your working years and when you retire. But then let's talk about how we're going to define your legacy in relation to that. And Warren Buffett is obviously very concerned about legacy,
right?
Because he's like the second or third richest man in the world. He doesn't care about money at this point, but he does care about his legacy. And I think that is the takeaway from this. He would never jeopardize his legacy to make a few bucks off somebody that he is lending money to buy a manufactured home. That is not going to happen.
And
now,
so,
not to say that there aren't some bad people who work for him who are doing stupid things. I mean, he employs like 400,000 people. There's somebody in there who's not doing what they should be doing. But in relation to what his legacy is, he's very concerned about that.
Let me bring you back on my track here.
Go.
So how do you, though, what is the role that an analyst has, that the money manager has in protecting somebody's legacy? What do you do?
So what we can do is, what I talk about to people is, how do you do multi-generational planning? As far as a lot of people aren't concerned about, I just want to grow my nest egg to X amount. A lot of people are concerned about, I want to grow my wealth.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with what?
That I want to just grow my nest egg to X amount. What's wrong with that?
Because a lot of people are concerned about not just about how I can consume my wealth during my lifetime, but how I can grow my wealth and then transfer that wealth to generation number 2, my kids, my grandkids, and how do we do that? And we can set aside money and actually manage it for them.
You know, there's a proverb that says a wise person leaves a gift for their children's children. And the whole idea is talking about how, you plan for your death, right? I mean, newsflash, as awesome as you are, as awesome as I might be on Tuesdays. Today's Tuesday. Tuesday's Wednesday. And those days are going to end. And so how do we transfer our awesomeness to the next generation and the generation following? Those are the type of conversations that I hear you having all the time with your clients. So I would, for those of you, I would endorse that. But I think that people should take the opportunity to consider, where am I going? What am I doing? And why in the world am I here? That's a fundamental question I ask myself all the time as a lawyer. I ask myself, is this the type of case that I want to do? And sometimes the answer is like, heck no, I'm out. Then I'm out, the end. I feel fantastic doing that. And so here's the challenge, people who are listening. Find something that you don't like to do and just stop doing it. How about that? Find one thing you don't like doing and stop doing it. Let's just stop doing that. And so the obverse coin of that, the other side of that, is to say, find something they want to do and then give you a call and have them help you facilitate that.
Man, I want to run through a wall for you right now.
Well, welcome to Legal Tender, right?
I mean, man, pass the offering plate, ring the bells, we are out.
Bingo.
That is amazing.
Thank you for joining. This is Legal Tender.
See ya. The kind of work it takes to create wealth and the work it takes to keep it are very different. I'm Cody Gunn, CFA and owner of Gun Capital Management. My firm is dedicated to helping you create a legacy for your family and the people you care about. Give us a call in Brewster at 509-699-3144 or visit us at guncapital.com. We'll walk you through the critical steps in maintaining and growing multi-generational wealth.
Opportunity, prosperity, legacy. We are Gun Capital Management.